Stock markets go through ups and downs. That's nothing new, but the core principles of investing, those barely change over time, and that's exactly why classic investment books still matter. One of the most important classics is Common Stocks and Uncommon Profits by Philip Fisher. It offers timeless insights and practical principles for long-term investing success. In this video, we'll break down the key ideas and investment strategies Fisher lays out in the book. Because just like a detective, a successful investor has to do their homework first. If we're aiming for sustainable returns, we need to dig deep, gather real information, and truly understand what we're investing in before we ever put our money on the table. So, what exactly are you going to learn in this video? How to tell whether a stock is truly overvalued, why a stock's price alone doesn't tell you if a company is actually a great business, and how to overcome doubt. So, when it's time to buy, you don't hesitate. Many investors trade on impulse, chasing quick profits. But smart investing doesn't work that way. It requires patience, careful thinking, and a long-term mindset. Smart investors don't chase fast gains. Instead, they look for companies with the potential to grow steadily over time. Of course, identifying those companies isn't easy. In fact, many stocks in the market are either overpriced or trading below their true value. And that's what makes investing so challenging. What smart investors look for are companies with strong potential that are still undervalued, because when the timing is right, those companies can double or even triple your original investment. For some investors, especially those used to seeing very high short-term returns in specific markets, these kinds of gains might seem modest. But what truly matters is sustainability. The real goal is to achieve meaningful real returns. Returns adjusted for inflation and measured in real US dollar terms. So these numbers shouldn't be dismissed too quickly. Companies with strong growth potential tend to share a few key traits. Ideally, they offer products or services that can maintain high sales volumes for many years. And when their existing product lines stop driving growth, they don't stand still. Instead, they continue investing in research and development, R&D, to create new opportunities. We've seen this pattern play out before. In the early 2000s, the rise of smartphones completely changed the mobile phone industry. About a decade later, market saturation slowed growth, pushing companies to innovate again. The arrival of 5G opened up a new growth path. Much like the spread of color TV back in the 1950s, many of the mobile apps we use today only became possible because of that technological shift. And if you look at the industry now, you can see similar growing pains once again. For example, Apple is trying to open up new growth areas with its mixed reality headset, the Vision Pro. How successful that will be is something we'll see over time. The bigger lesson here is clear. We all remember Nokia, the flagship brand of its era. Because it failed to adapt, it nearly disappeared from the market altogether. Many people today aren't even sure whether the company still makes phones. In a world of constant change, standing still almost guarantees falling behind. Companies understand this. That's why they invest heavily in R&D. And for a smart investor, focusing on companies that truly prioritize innovation isn't optional. It's essential. At the most basic level, there are two main reasons to buy a stock. Either you believe the company will grow significantly over time, or you expect it to generate strong and consistent dividend income. In high inflation environments, focusing only on dividends can be misleading. Yes, sharing profits with investors creates a positive impression, but on its own, that's not enough, and that's my personal take on it. Successful investing works a lot like being a detective. To do this well, you need to dig deep, ask the right questions, and carefully analyze every piece of information you can get your hands on. When evaluating a company's investment potential, it's critical to gather detailed insights from every possible angle. At this stage, you should use what Fisher famously termed the Scuttlebutt method. In other words, tap into the business grapevine, suppliers, customers, former employees, and anyone with a connection to the company. Reaching out to a few of the company's competitors can also deliver surprisingly accurate and detailed insights. I actually experienced this myself during a factory visit. When I asked who the company's biggest competitors were, I kept hearing the same name over and over again, Astor. At the time, the company hadn't gone public yet. Pricing was definitely up for debate, but its position in the industry was undeniably strong. Once you've built a solid overall profile of the company, it's time to speak directly with management. At this point, you should ask informed, well-prepared questions that clearly show you've done your homework. This research-driven approach is highly effective, but it's also very time-consuming. That's why it's important to be selective about which companies you research, so you don't waste time chasing the wrong opportunities. So, you've identified a company with strong long-term growth potential, but is it really the right time to buy? Stock prices reflect how the market feels about a company at any given moment. Over time, those feelings can turn into a self-reinforcing cycle. For example, when investors become overly optimistic about a stock, demand surges, people rush in, prices climb higher, and eventually, a bubble forms. On the other hand, even a successful company can take a hit when unexpected costs pop up. When that happens, investor expectations drop, and so does the stock price. Simply understanding this irrational behavior of the market can put you in a position to generate extraordinary returns. Companies with strong growth potential are usually innovative, but innovation almost always comes with obstacles, setbacks, and temporary failures. Let's make this more concrete. Imagine you discover a wind turbine manufacturing company with strong growth potential. Early on, its investments in renewable energy and future prospects push the stock price higher. Then, a problem shows up. It turns out some of the turbines have durability issues at certain wind speeds. Public concern grows. The company's reputation takes a hit, and the stock price drops. That's the moment when the market gives you an opportunity to buy the stock at a lower price. If the company works through the problem, the potential for future profits comes back. And if you miss that opportunity, don't worry, another one is likely to show up during the next downturn. These opportunities rarely disappear for good. For instance, after the company fixes the production issues, the stock price may rise again. But then new concerns emerge. Unexpected costs during the product launch, for example. Disappointed investors pull back, convinced the company will never succeed. But from your perspective, that moment creates yet another chance to pick up a strong business at a discounted price. Doubt is a completely natural part of investing. When you decide to buy a stock, it's totally normal to feel hesitant from time to time. That's just human nature. But a successful investor never lets that hesitation guide their decisions. Once you truly understand a company's growth and profit potential, there shouldn't be much room for indecision. Most hesitation comes from following the crowd or worrying about what everyone else is doing. Being where the majority is always feels safer. And when no one seems interested in a particular stock, a common question pops into your mind. Can this stock really be that valuable? But we already know how often Wall Street gets a stock's true value wrong. Yes, buying when everyone else is selling can feel uncomfortable, sometimes even scary. But if you genuinely believe in a company's long-term potential, take a deep breath and actually take action. On the other hand, buying what everyone else is buying rarely leads to exceptional returns. By the time a stock becomes popular, it's usually already priced too high to be a truly great opportunity. Here's a situation a lot of investors face all the time. A stock is trading at $35.50 per share, and you want to buy 1,000 shares. To save a little money, you place your order at $35 instead. Because of that 50-cent difference, your order doesn't get filled that day. What happens next is exactly what you feared. The stock keeps rising, non-stop, and all you can do is sit there and watch from the sidelines. If you hadn't focused on saving those 50 cents, you could have captured a major opportunity. When you find a truly strong investment, you need to hold on to it. There are really only 3 valid reasons to sell a stock. You originally misjudged the company's growth potential. Even if your initial analysis was correct, the company's fundamentals have changed over time. While searching for a major long-term opportunity, you mistakenly invested in a short-term, average quality stock. All other reasons, like chasing quick profits or following the herd, almost always lead to losses over the long run. A company with genuine, long-term growth potential is rarely, if ever, truly overvalued. So far, we've talked about how investing in high-growth companies can lead to significant gains. However, for some investors, slower but more consistent growth feels far more appealing. Even as a conservative investor, you should still look for strong companies with room to grow. If you prefer to play it safe, be cautious with newly founded companies, no matter how promising they might look. For investors who want a steadier approach, it often makes more sense to focus on large, well-established companies with a proven history of profitability. That said, for this strategy to work, the company must still have the ability to maintain and defend its position in the market. The company needs to keep growing and evolving. Otherwise, more agile competitors will eventually overtake it. A company that's both strong and capable of continued growth usually shares 4 key characteristics. First, it operates with low-cost production methods. This allows the company to remain profitable even during periods of rising prices, inflation, or broad market downturns. Second, the company is well-organized and competitively positioned in its market. This enables it to deliver products and services efficiently and reliably. Third, the company has an outstanding research and development track record. This foundation allows it to continuously improve and innovate its products and services. Finally, the company shows strong financial discipline. In other words, it manages capital wisely, allocating resources only to projects with real profit potential and recognizing early warning signs that signal when it's time to move on. How a company treats its employees and how those employees show up at work matters a great deal. There are several reasons for this. First, a company's growth potential is directly tied to how its people actually perform. A business can only reach its goals through the effort and commitment of its employees. For example, if a company wants to build truly innovative products, it needs R&D teams with deep expertise in that space. Without that level of specialization, sustainable innovation simply isn't possible. Second, the way a company treats its people tells us a lot about how productive and effective it really is. When people are treated poorly, and let's be honest, they're not going to perform at their best. Companies succeed only when they genuinely value their employees. By looking at a company's HR philosophy and management policies, we can get a much clearer picture of how the company is actually run. At the same time, we can more accurately assess its long-term potential. Take promotion practices, for example. Pay close attention to how a company handles internal promotions. If it rarely promotes from within and instead relies heavily on external hiring, that's a strong sign the company isn't investing in developing its people. At that point, this should be seen as a serious warning sign, a clear red flag. A similar issue applies to leadership and teamwork. If a company leader thinks they can run the entire organization as a one-person show, how realistic is it to expect them to manage effectively as the company grows? Instead, it's far healthier to focus on companies led by managers who can build strong teams and delegate responsibility effectively. A cautious, risk-aware investor must focus on the future when evaluating a company. It's not enough for a business to be strong today. It also needs the right tools and systems to maintain that strength over time. When making this assessment, profitability shouldn't be judged by total revenue alone. Investors must also look closely at profit margins. Because here's the core idea. Bigger margins usually mean better long-term results. The goal is to find a company that can remain profitable over the long run and continue growing even during tough economic conditions. The reason profitability matters so much is pretty simple. Whether it's funding R&D, investing in new inventory, or ramping up marketing, growth always requires serious capital. That's why a company needs to secure future profitability to handle extra expenses that will come up down the road. Profitability also acts as a critical buffer during tough times. When costs rise, a company needs sufficient cash reserves to keep operating without disruption. So how can a business protect its long-term profits? The most basic answer is this: it has to outperform the competition. A company's long-term profitability depends on its ability to do or create something its competitors can't, so rivals can't take over its market share. One way to establish market dominance is through scale. Size matters. In other words, a large-scale producer can manufacture far more products at a much lower cost than a smaller competitor ever could. For example, a company producing 1 million pens a month will naturally have a much lower cost per pen than one producing just 100,000. Another way a company can strengthen its market position is by developing technical innovations protected by patents or copyrights, things competitors are legally not allowed to copy. A company's value is often misunderstood because of the overall mood of the investing crowd. In reality, a stock's true value is highly subjective, and it can look very different from one investor to the next. An investor who's comfortable taking on more risk may place a higher value on a company with strong growth potential. However, that same company might not appeal to a more conservative or risk-averse investor. That's because conservative investors prefer not to rely too much on future expectations. Instead, they focus on paying a fair price for a stock. They typically look for companies that grow steadily and trade close to their intrinsic value. This is exactly where the price-to-earnings ratio, or PE ratio, comes into play. You calculate the PE ratio by taking a company's stock price and dividing it by its earnings per share. For example, if a company earns $1 per share and its stock is trading at $10, the PE ratio is 10. If that same company starts earning $2 per share, the calculation becomes 10 divided by 2, and the PE ratio drops to 5. A high PE ratio can sometimes be a sign of strong future growth. At first glance, a PE ratio of 40 might sound expensive, but if there's a strong expectation that the PE ratio will fall to 4 next year, that stock could actually be considered cheap, even at a PE of 40. The reason is simple. Financial markets often price in future expectations well in advance. An investor who's comfortable taking risks might find a PE ratio of 40 reasonable given that outlook. On the other hand, a conservative investor, especially one who's cautious about the company's management, might still see that price as too high. Personally, I tend to lean toward the risk-taking side. If I expect sales and profits to keep growing, I don't see a problem with taking a position in a stock, even with a PE ratio of 40. And honestly, I've benefited from this approach many times. To become a successful investor, you have to be willing to do the research. A company's true value depends on far more than just the number you see on a screen. If you're ready to do some real detective work, whether you're conservative or willing to take on higher risk, the potential rewards can be significant. Looking at a stock's current price alone isn't enough. Factors like management quality, revenue and cost structure, competitive advantages, and growth potential all play a role. That's why it's essential to thoroughly analyze any company before investing. In the end, the world of investing may seem complex at first, but when you approach it with curiosity and commitment, it can be incredibly rewarding. Seeing the bigger picture and adopting a research-driven mindset can be one of the most powerful tools you have on the path to success.